What is going on? Luciano Martinez here with Remax Platinum in McAllen, Texas. Just wanted to today do another blog vlog for you out there. I know there's always a lot of questions on the buying and even the selling side of real estate. And today we're doing part four. The closing the deal is the name of this particular vlog. Closing the deal, part four of a 5-part series that I put out there, and you'll go ahead and have this blog posted on later on today. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about closing the deal. Now, closing the deal doesn't happen from yesterday to today. A normal transaction ranges anywhere between 30 to 45 days as far as closing goes, and then all of a sudden you have bumps and hurdles that you have to overcome. And this is where your real estate team comes into play. Now, part of the real estate team is not just your real estate agent. You have your lender, you have your title company, you have the opposing agent as well. All of these people play a very important and vital role in the transaction of a real estate transaction, right? So, closing the deal, there are some hurdles that you may have to overcome, and it's okay. Don't sweat it. Relax. Let your agent, let your team take care of you. Let them do all the worrying and all the stress. That's what it's all about, right? So, anyways, the final steps when we're getting close to the closing, there's a couple of steps that we want to talk about is make sure that you've done all your part in terms of getting all your documents in. Your lender requires documents. Make sure you turn those in. And sometimes you're going to get a document request, a day or two before closing. Hopefully that's not the case, but it does happen. All right. So make sure that you are on top of that. Make sure you turn those documents in as soon as they're being requested. Closing costs, closing costs and other expenses. Keep in mind that when you get to the closing table, if you're on a loan, if you're going to get financing, you're going to get what we call a preliminary closing disclosure. Those preliminary closing disclosures are hey, by the way, these are all the fees, blah, 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 blah. But it's not always that those are going to be your exact cash to close. They still have to, first of all, give you the clear to close, one. And two, they do have to go ahead and do what we call a balancing of the costs. Maybe you've already taken on a cost. Maybe you already paid for the appraisal, or maybe you already paid for a secondary appraisal, or sometimes what we as real estate agents try to do is try to get compensation from the listing side, and maybe we in the closing disclosures you're being charged, I don't know, say a ridiculous amount of 10% or something to that effect, right? And that's not what we charge, right? So all of those things get balanced out. Now, don't get me wrong, you are going to have closing costs and you may have some other expenses. And just because we ask a seller for closing cost help or seller concessions doesn't necessarily mean they're going to pay for all of the closing costs on your end. You are still responsible. Say maybe you're responsible for 15K. That's an exaggeration, but maybe you are responsible for 15K. And we ask the seller for, I don't know, $5,000 in seller concessions. Well, now instead of paying the 15K, you're going to pay the 10K. That's what seller concessions are. So keep in mind, because you're gonna get surprised when you first see that preliminary closing disclosure. You're gonna be surprised. It's like, holy cow! There's $15,000 in expenses and closing costs, and maybe that's not the final number. So just relax a little bit. Let your team take care of you. Let your team run the numbers. Get the clear to close. Get the what we call the final CD. Now, when you get the final CD, definitely review that. Review that. Go over it with your agent. Go over it with your lender. Those are the numbers that are probably most likely, unless there's a mistake, are going to be the final numbers that you're going to have to come in cash to close, or already have your cash in there. Maybe you're going to get some money back. Maybe you deposited $25,000 and you only have to pay $10,000. So you're going to probably end up getting back the 15, right? Anyways, besides the point. But, excuse me, that's what we're here for. We're here to, keep you at an ease, keep your peace of mind, Let your lender worry about the financing. Let your real estate agent worry about the negotiations back and forth. You know, have us review your final CD just for confirmation purposes, right? Nothing for nothing more than that. Because to be honest with you, your real estate agent is not more than your real estate agent is not the money man, right? So the money person is going to be your financer, your loan officer. So those will worry about the finances, right? And we'll worry about the negotiations, making sure that all the items were, maybe the seller was supposed to pay for the survey, and we want to make sure that that's in the final CD as well, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. That's where we review your final CD. And then once we get the confirmation that your final CD, your final closing disclosure is done, we'll go ahead and worry about scheduling a closing time. And then we'll go ahead and schedule you in. And typically in the state of Texas, you may close today, but expect that you'll get your keys within 24 to 48 hours once the file funds. Now, normally, if it takes about 24 hours, but if your loan officer was able to wire the money into the title company that same day, then you're going to probably get the keys that same day. Just give us an opportunity to go ahead and get those keys out for you. Let me see. What else can I tell you a little bit more about what happens if you're doing cash? Well, if you're doing cash, there's no loan officer involved. You're just going to get a HUD settlement. Make sure you review that as well. Okay. All the buyers all the buyers costs, all the sellers costs. Make sure that you have your buyer costs on your column, and make sure that it's, if you're supposed to get some sort of credit, make sure you get that credit. And again, that's where we come in as well when we talk about, what part of our jobs are. Use us. Let us give you peace of mind when it comes to a real estate transaction. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions about real estate, or any other questions about any of my other blogs, feel free to give me a comment below, or feel free to reach out. My number is 956-476-2925. You can also reach me at my email, Luciano, Luciano, at martinezrgbhomes.com. You have a good one.